Mercedes reveals bad news after FIA decision on Red Bull, Max Verstappen responds. So we're going to be going through that and 4 other stories in today's video. So don't forget to like this video, and if you want more F1 content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. But let's get straight into the first story, where Mercedes actually threatened to budget cap if Max Verstappen doesn't lose the 2021 title. So as you all know, Mercedes are reportedly ready to toss the rule book out the window next year if Red Bull are not sufficiently punished for breaching the budget cap. A gentleman's agreement was previously trialed in Formula 1, whereby the teams would promise to stay within a spending limit, but no one had any intentions of sticking to the loose guidelines. In 2019, a new set of financial regulations were signed in preparation for the 2021 season, which would impose an official and much more stringent cap on everyone's expenditure. Initially, all 10 teams were told not to spend any more than $175 million in 2021 season, but the outlook changed after the COVID-19 pandemic hit, so it was lowered to $145 million. There was caveats to breaking the rule, and if that team overspends by more than 5%, which in the instance is an expenditure of $152 million or more, they could be excluded from the championship for a material breach. On Monday, the FIA confirmed that Red Bull have gone over by less than 5%, putting them in minor breach of regulations. This does not entirely let them and Max Verstappen off the hook though, as points deduction is plausible. The general consensus is that the Austrian team will face a fine, which is somewhat ironic given that they, according to the governing body, evidently had an abundance of money to spend in the first place. So, like that was mentioned, it was rumored whether he was going to be stripped from it. However, it was found out it was just going to be a small fine, and Mercedes, especially with Lewis Hamilton's 8th title actually on the line if they were found guilty, is actually on the line, and he wasn't able to get it back. So, as a result, if the punishment for spending money is spending more money, then Toto Wolff, per a report by Formula Passion, is ready to get petty with the FIA and disregard the financial regulations. And I completely agree with something like this when it comes to Toto Wolff. He has the luxury now to overspend and just take the little fine if it's going to mean they can still win the Drivers' Championship and also the Constructors. One of the arguments for a bigger punishment is that breaking the rules one year has a knock-on effect for future seasons, potentially putting Verstappen's 2022 success under the spotlight as well. Aston Martin, meanwhile, were found to be in material breach of the rules, and the governing body are currently deciding on suitable punishment for them too. So when it comes to all of this, I think Toto Wolff comes from a place that is actually, really smart, or in the sense that, if Red Bull are able to do this in order for them to win, then why can't Toto Wolff do the same? Now, Max Verstappen had a lot to say about this, but he did just say, all I'm here is to do is race, and I'm going to let Red Bull handle what they're going to handle. And I think Max Verstappen doesn't want to get into too many details about everything that is going on. Obviously, there is a lot of background talk whether Max Verstappen was involved in the cap breach or whether he wasn't, and he didn't know at the time. So there is a lot of rumors flying about here and there, but I guess with that story, that's just how it goes. So we'll hear sooner enough what is going to happen and whether Toto Wolff is going to continue and really push for next year. Now, speaking for next season, the second story we're going to get in today is actually Mercedes F1 will show up in Austin with its latest evolution of the year. So the Mercedes F1 team had a very little success in the previous 2 races in Singapore and Japan, failing to finish on the podium and scoring just 16 points in the Constructors' World Championship. Toto Wolff also concedes that the Asian Tour was not easy for the German team, but that intends to take advantage of the remaining events this season, starting with that Austin this weekend to continue learning with a view to 2023. We want to finish this season strong, and as a result of the last 2 races, only make us more determined to do so. We need to use limited track time available to push forward this season and generate as much learning as possible in the development race for 2023. These 2 objectives are identical. Moreover, Mercedes will not arrive empty-handed on the circuit of the Americas. Our final evolution of the year will be brought to Austin. It won't drastically change our fortunes, but hopefully it will move us forward and get us closer to the front runners. Austin is a great city that we all love to visit. Circuit of the Americas is a tough track that often produces great racing, so we're excited to be back this year and hopefully put on a great show to the fans. So it will be interesting to see how they actually go about this. I think they have a pretty good chance in Austin so the USA Grand Prix, and I think they can do very, very well. Mercedes have struggled so far, but the fact that they are experimenting with a lot of different things really will put them forward when it comes to what is going to be achieved by this team, especially for the last couple of races. I think they should throw everything out the window and really just try everything they can while the season is still going to prepare themselves for next season, which seems is what they are doing. Now, getting into the third story, we actually have an update on Daniel Ricciardo's Formula One future as Mercedes rumors actually intensify. So the Australian winner's future looks unclear as rumors continue to circulate regarding his future F1 plans. Ricciardo clarified that there is no problem, but he is currently not ready to sign anything. 2 months ago, Ricciardo's future with the McLaren looked in doubt as there were concerns about whether he could stick with the team until 2023, the final year of his contract. So, his name was mentioned when talking about seats at Alpine, Haas, and also Williams. However, it has emerged that Mercedes might take the Australian, albeit it's not for a race seat as the 2023 driving pair is confirmed, but as a reserve driver. The French outlet Canal reported that discussions have been taking place between Ricciardo and the Silver Arrows and are in an advanced phase regarding a reserve driver role for the upcoming season. The Australian met with Toto Wolff in Mercedes motorhome in Singapore, and there was a video that was leaked of seeing him going outside of it, and I think there is a lot of rumors around that. However, Ricciardo has been tight-lipped about the matter. At the Japanese Grand Prix press conference, Ricciardo addressed the rumors about his future prospects. Keen on resolving it, I wouldn't say there is a problem. I'm just taking time to figure out what will be the best thing for me. There is no rush, there's no pressure to quickly sign something. I want to take the right amount of time. I won't sign the contract to be back on the grid. I'll be going with the season and I'll become clear of what's best for me. Recently, Haas boss Gunther actually was asked by Ricciardo's chance for the second Haas seat as the team looks to replace Mick Schumacher. The Italian cheekily replied that Ricciardo should pick up his phone once he's decided. He needs to weigh up on what he wants to do. If he decides to join a team at the back of the grid, that doesn't mean he cannot move up on the grid. He needs to find out what he wants to do with his life, and that will take him time because this is a big decision for his career, and I'm sure it takes very carefully what he wants to do. Now, I think this comes from a place, especially due to the fact that Daniel Ricciardo was probably, a really great driver back in the day, with his peak being at Red Bull, and it's hard for someone like Daniel Ricciardo to go all the way back down to the bottom with Haas and be pretty much at the back of the grid and probably won't be getting points anytime soon. So I do see the struggle that Daniel Ricciardo is definitely going through, because it is hard to see, your team that you've, once signed do that on a regular basis. Is it better for Daniel Ricciardo to join a team such as Mercedes, even though he's a reserve driver, but be in a winning franchise? I think that definitely would be better for his career, due to the fact that I think it would just be frustrating to see him go all the way back down to Haas. So unfortunately, in my personal opinion, I think that is the best move for him. Now, the fourth story I want to get into today was actually Hamilton and his actual optimism when it comes to the 2023 F1 fight back, as he calls it. So after winning 8 straight constructor titles between 2014 and 2021, Mercedes struggled with the F1 switch all new regulations for 2022, as several key issues on its W13 Challenger prevented it from keeping pace with Red Bull and Ferrari. With the Brackley outfit had more strides getting on top of its handling and bouncing problems, the W13 remains some way behind the front runners and will need a major push over off-season to get its 2023 car right. Hamilton said he is playing part in trying to keep the team in the factory motivated and ready to come out swinging for next year's W14. I've got to try and continue to G everybody up. Make sure we leave no stone unturned so that next year we arrive and we can fight for positions that we deserve to be fighting for. I think that we'll always have to remember that this is a team. There are people at this team that they have been here for over 20 years and delivered 8 titles since I've been here and more. They know how to build a world championship fighting car. For me, it's just trying to support them in the best way I can. Hamilton believes his team has a good enough handle to actually pull this off on its current issues to build a much improved Challenger for next year, saying he is no doubt that we'll have a better car in 2023. I think for us, we know the problems are with this car, he explained. We've not gone from being world champions to not being able to build a good car. I actually have no doubt that we'll be able to have a better car next year. Whether or not that will be rectify every issue that we have this year, you'll find out when we get there. With 4 races left in 2022, Mercedes Mercedes head to Austin at 387 points, 67 points actually behind second place Ferrari, and well clear of midfield challengers Alpine and McLaren. As a result, it is all but guaranteed to finish the season third in the Constructors' Championship. So there really is a lot that has to happen in order for them to actually lose that position, but I think with everything that is going on, they will only get better from here. Now, story number 5 that I did want to get into was actually the F1 budget cap judges face tough steroids ruling. So Mercedes team principal Toto Wolff has conceded he does not envy the position of the judges who will deliver sanctions over Red Bull's F1 budget cap breach. Red Bull was the only team to have found to have spent over the 145 million, and Williams with being fined 25,000. As far from this, Wolff actually said, "I tell you, I just don't want to be in the shoes of the judges to judge on that. Drivers are drivers, their guts in order to be at the top. There are decisions that the team makes that are not involved, but still, in the end, you sit in the car that is made on steroids. It's such a tough call, and I don't want to make a judgment call. To be honest, my thinking isn't so far. It's more about the principle of how this is going to pan out in the future and how robust are these regulations. How are they being enforced and policed? How is the governance process going to run? Because we don't know when it comes to the adjudication panel how the judges will decide, and then it is a learning by doing off all of us." So I think this is really interesting to see, because when it comes to Toto Wolff, I think he is very smart about it. Obviously, there is a little bit of beef between him and the FIA, especially with everything that went on last year at Abu Dhabi, but I do think when it comes to what Mercedes are trying to achieve, not only this year for the rest of the season, but next season, they definitely have another championship in sight to give, someone like Lewis Hamilton his 8th championship. So I think that can be possible, and I think with everything that is going on, where Mercedes did really struggle this season, I definitely think was a porpoising issue very, very early on in the season, and once you get off into a bad start, it's really hard to catch up to, teams or racers such as Red Bull or Max Verstappen or even Ferrari in this case. They've done a great job to actually pull their way back into being contention with Ferrari. However, I feel like right now Mercedes just need to focus on experimenting and don't really worry about winning the race, but making the car that they can set up for a great future for next season. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon. Peace.